Good morning from the Habitation du Port-Royal here in the beautiful Annapolis Valley of Nova Scotia. I decided to come in and take another look around, and I'm actually inside the governor's residence. Oops, sorry. Within Port Royal Habitation. I've come here many times throughout my life. First really recollection I remember is 1986 when I was in the sixth grade with my school trip. But I believe I probably came here when I was a bit younger than that too. There were a few times my family would come down to Annapolis Royal and take a look around. Of course, obviously in the 1990s with our encampments up in Fort Hand, we really did come up. Now, a little background history of this place. The Habitation was the first North America, how should I say, the first European settlement north of Florida, founded by the French in 1604, which predates Quebec. That's a big point, because this is the heart of l'Acadie. This is where Acadia started. Samuel de Champlain and Dumont started their settlement here. Of course, the Vikings had been in Lonzo Meadows 600 years before, but they didn't stay. The Acadians, or the French who became the Acadians, they stayed. So anyway, my reason why I'm actually here is I came down and was staying with my dad over the weekend, and he actually has to repair one of the wood lathes, the leatherwork inside. So I figured I'd do a little video shout out. This actual historic site was reconstructed at the beginning of the Second World War in 1939, actually, as a make-work project. So it's actually quite amazing how it stood up against the test of time. Periodically, there are renovations done on the property, and I was talking to the interpreter about that, and it was actually during COVID that they actually replaced part of the roofing tiles and things like that. So I've noticed that over time that the color of the woodwork has changed. I remember as a kid that the exterior walls were black, and that was due to the use of linseed oil, but because of modern environmental standards and stuff like that, can't really do that anymore. Rather interesting that we have matchlock muskets up on the wall. This was not actually a military fort. It's almost like it's a fortified manor house in wood, because they couldn't build it in stone because there wasn't enough stone around this area. And obviously, Dumont and Champlain got along very well with the local Mi'kmaq. Otherwise, this place would not have existed. Eventually, in 1621, I believe it was, a English privateer force from Virginia, those pesky English people, came up and destroyed the settlement. It was burnt out. And what they did is they moved the settlement further upriver. Now, one of the really interesting things is all these nice moose hide paintings that we have in very nice Mi'kmaq designs. So anyway, different bunk spaces for the people that were here. Now, the interesting thing you have to remember is that the people who actually started this place, they had a few tradespeople. So you had a blacksmith over, his shop is just across the courtyard. You had a baker, obviously, to make the bread and stuff like that. But the majority of people who were on this mission were not farmers. They weren't the type of people that you would need to start a colony. They were business people. So imagine taking a bunch of CEOs of some major corporations in France, like in a modern day, and dropping them on like Mars and saying, here, start a colony. That's basically what happened here. So the interesting part is that the fact that they actually did survive, and the only reason why they did survive is because of the Mi'kmaq people. So you have a big shout out member to and his people for allowing the French to actually exist. The reason why is the French very much were very friendly with the Mi'kmaq when they encountered them and started trade. And the big thing, obviously, that the Mi'kmaq did not have that the Europeans had was iron, the ability to work with metal tools. So that change was a huge game changer for the Mi'kmaq people, and it very much changed a lot of aspects of their culture. But this is where it all started. So actually, that little lathe over there, or sawhorse, or I can't remember the actual name, but I was making shingles, or practicing making shingles way back in the day. That was funny. I still remember my school principal freaking out, "Please don't slice myself open." I'm like, as the interpreters told me, "No, that can't happen. It's not a problem." But different rooms throughout this place. It would have been pretty cozy. Now, the other thing about when this place started in the 1600s is North America was going through a weather climate change, and it actually was what's known as the mini ice age. It was actually much colder than it is now. So without the use of modern insulation, central heating, heat pumps, things like that, the only way that you stayed warm was, that's your 17th century version of a heat pump. That's a fireplace, and it was wood or coal, if you get it. But coal, unfortunately, gives off. It is not environmentally friendly. Obviously, it's very oily, so it leaves a scummy residue that's quite bad. Now, the other interesting part is that when you look at how the French did things, this is their apothecary, I believe, from the last time I was here, and they were picking up the herbs and spices and things and speaking with the Mi'kmaq about what are things that they could use. So they did pay attention and were a bit more with it than the English were down in Virginia, because the English didn't really want to have anything to do with the First Nations down there. So of course you're taking a look, and it's saying things that you have, like sirop de rhubarbe, the rhubarb and things like that, chamomile, and these are things that herbs and berries and spices that you could periodically use to take care of yourselves. The fact that the Mi'kmaq didn't die of scurvy is because the Mi'kmaq would drink spruce beer. So they came up with a concoction that they could actually make a drink from spruce boughs, and that was something which the French adopted and used. And there's actually breweries now in Nova Scotia that make spruce beer, and it's quite interesting. So another little spot. This is actually the chapel, and there's a very nice smell in here. Someone has actually put in incense. I actually should remove my hat because we're in the house of God. So that's your holy water dispenser and things like that. They did have a priest who was here. So we have our chapel, our altar, and I believe that's the confessional booth. And yeah, at least, one thing you needed is someplace to pray to God for the success of the mission, and also your mental and spiritual health to make sure you were still going on. Now, like I said, the reason why I came in here this morning was because of what my dad's actually doing today. So he's actually trying to fix this lathe over here, make it look a little more historically accurate as to what it would have looked like. So technically what I was doing was protecting his little toolkit that he has here, for which is what he uses for 18th and or 17th century work. which is what this site is. So going in, this is the kitchen and dining. Oh no, it's not the kitchen. This is the dining area, and this is where you have the Order of Good Cheer. Now, you got to imagine 17th century Acadia, now Nova Scotia. You had no internet, you had no television, no satellite communications, there was no mail. You were more or less on the other side of the world, or completely different. So what happened is Champlain and Dumont came up with a social club. And what it was is every member of the expedition here came up with a different idea for music, food, drink, plays, things like that. And it was basically, I would almost equate it to what like the officers' mess is in the military at the time. And this is my dad who's doing the interpretation of fixing the lathe. So I may actually get him to do a little interpretive blurb as to what he's doing today. So, what exactly would you be? Would you be a Scottish tradesman or a sailor off a ship that came in to help fix the place?
Probably just another individual passing through from another vessel, and I have the skills and I'll do the repair.
And so what exactly are you repairing?
Well, the strap on the treadle lathe has broken, and the adjustment is all no longer functional, so I'm going to put on a strap and buckle to allow it to be much easier adjusted to get the proper tension on the lathe.
And this would have been used for woodworking, for any
wood turning, making chair legs, any of that sort of thing, kitchen utensils, a number of possibilities.
All right, so basically the Habitation itself had the ability to, they were self-sustaining, they were able to take care of themselves. I was actually just talking about the fact that this was the Order of Good Cheer start.
Yeah.
Like basically almost like officers' mess type thing, trying to keep yourselves entertained,
It's
right?
keeping morale up, yeah.
Right. Anyway, so that's just a little blurb I'm going to do up. So to everyone out there in the wonderful world of whatever, have a good day, and I'll be putting this up on my Japanese Irish Highlander channel shortly. Have a good one.